Okay, now let me move on to the first class of the entire entire series of the 14 lectures. Okay, the first topic of my class is strategic thinking overview. Okay. Let me start with the 4 key elements of a person who are good at strategic thinking. I think there are 4 distinctive elements to a person who is very good at strategic thinking: information seeking, analytical thinking, conceptual thinking, and leading and driving. All those 4 elements are very critical, a critical element of strategic thinking. Okay, the first element of strategic thinking is information seeking. A person who is very good at strategic thinking always seek the information, who has the desire to know more about things, people, and problems. And such person has an inclination to collect information with a fundamental curiosity. And those people want to use such information as the basis for judgment. Okay? So, in information seeking, the key word is, I think, the key word I want to emphasize on is curiosity. You may be wondering why curiosity is related to strategic thinking. But based on my experience and according to a lot of academic articles, strategic thinker is a person who has the curiosity to know more about the environment or the problems, and they want to collect a lot of information, objective information, without making any judgment based on his knowledge or experience, and then try to use such information or evidence as a basis for judgment. I'll tell you later that strategic thinking is very closely related to zero-based thinking and fact-based thinking. So information-seeking person tries to utilize the collected information as a basis for judgment without relying on his feelings or emotions. So in that sense, strategic thinker is related to fact-based thinking. And the second element of the strategic thinking is analytical thinking. That means an ability to classify and organize complex situations or sophisticated problems into detailed elements. Why? To understand accurately the situations or the nature of the problems and come up with countermeasures or solutions. The explanation is quite long, but the most important element is of this analytic thinking person is that classifying the problem into detailed elements. That means disaggregating the problem into a lot of small issues. So strategic thinker try to disaggregate big problem into small problems. By doing that, he can understand the complex situations or sophisticated problems accurately. After that, that will be very helpful to come up with creative solutions. If I say that the analytical thinking is related to disaggregating the problem into the small pieces, the third element of the strategic thinking, conceptual thinking, is synthesizing a lot of small piece evidences into one big concept or pattern or solutions. So that means aggregating all the key findings into one or two big solutions. So conceptual thinking is an ability to identify common patterns or relevance between unrelated situations or problems. And conceptual thinking is an ability to develop new concepts, new patterns, new models, and creative solutions. So analytical thinking element and conceptual thinking element are quite different aspects of strategic thinking. Analytical thinking is disaggregating big things into small pieces. But on the other hand, conceptual thinking is aggregating all the key findings into big patterns. The final element of strategic thinking is leading and driving. So strategic thinking is related to the leaderships. So leading and, when I say that the leading and driving, it's an ability to predict future problems, opportunities, and voluntarily create appropriate actions at this point for changing the current circumstances in the near future. As I said, I'm teaching the students at the School of Global Entrepreneurship. So our slogan is making something from nothing. Okay? That is related to the entrepreneurship. That's leading something and driving something. So we try to mobilize a lot of resources from nothing. If you imagine the startup, the builders, startup entrepreneurs, they try to make something from nothing, right? If you are the middle managers in a big company, you are the managing something from the existing things, right? So those are quite different. entrepreneurship is creating something from nothing. The management means maintaining the current situations and then try to be more effective and efficient. The strategic thinking is more related to leading and driving. So, as a conclusion, if you are interested in being a good strategic thinker, think about yourself, whether you are very curious about your surrounding environment, you are curious about a lot of things around yourself, or a lot of people around yourself, or the problems around yourself. And you try to collect the information with fundamental curiosity. And then whether you want to use the facts and the evidence as a basis to make a judgment, or you are a person who have no interest in your surroundings and you do not have any curiosity, or you just take everything as granted, and then everything is okay, right? If you are such a person, nothing is a problem to you, and then you cannot come up with any solutions at all. If you are a person who try to seek a lot of problems around yourself, and then that's a starting point of solving such problems, and that's related to the strategic thinking. And as I said, strategic thinker may disaggregate big problems into small pieces. If you do not disaggregate big problems into small pieces, you just come up with a very big and complex situations or the sophisticated problems. It's very difficult to draw the solutions because it's very difficult to understand accurately the existing situations. Without understanding the exact situation, it's very difficult to draw reasonable solutions. So analytical thinker is a person who can disaggregate big problems into small pieces. And strategic thinker is also conceptual thinker who has an ability to aggregate all the key findings into big conclusions or new concepts. So think about those 4 key elements, and as a person, as a student, to learn about the business strategy, you may want to assess whether you are a strategic thinker or not. If you want to assess you are a strategic thinker or not, try to assess yourself from those 4 different aspects. But don't be disappointed, even though you assess you are quite poor in those 4 areas. Don't get disappointed. Strategic thinking can be trained. Without proper exercise and training, you can improve your capability of your strategic thinking. That's why I teach you about the business strategy and the elements of the business strategy. And I encourage you to apply those learnings into solving the real problems around yourself, and drawing and making some developing your own strategy in the business areas.